Welcome back to Yarn Flicks. Now let's get into this review of 7 Days. Before seeing it, I had never heard of this movie. Just when I thought I was about to give up on what to watch, one night, this one popped up in my recommendations, so I decided to give it a try. Now let me tell you, I am so glad I did. 7 Days is a movie that was released in 2021, starring Geraldine, Viswanathan, and Karan, Soni. It begins with a blind date taking place at the beginning of pandemic lockdowns. What happens in the next few days is certainly a sight to behold. This is such an underrated movie for a variety of reasons. Besides being well acted, the two main characters were able to convey a wealth of information about themselves to the viewer without saying much at all. The focus remains solely on them with only a few moments with outsiders. This was especially effective and really showcases the talent of Viswanathan and Soni. Now, before I go on, I have to say that I wasn't previously familiar with either actor. Geraldine Viswanathan has also starred in Blockers, Emo, and Janet King. Karan Soni has starred in Deadpool and Deadpool 2, which I've seen both, as well as Office Christmas Party. Two things immediately come to mind when I reflect on this movie. One, I'm not really into romantic comedies. I had only planned to give it about 5 minutes before moving on if it bored me in the least bit. Two, it's hard to make me laugh these days. I have watched so many movies that you could just go ahead and call me jaded, as I feel I've virtually seen it all before. The two things that this movie has going for it are its offbeat nature and any general curiosity one may have about the ups and downs of dating during a pandemic. Luckily, I'm no longer in the dating pool, but one still cannot help but wonder what it would be like, especially when you have friends and relatives who've been trying to navigate love and relationships at such a strange time in our history. Viswanathan plays Rita, a young woman whose mother pines for her to find the right mate. Ravi, played by Soni, is in more or less the same boat. What happens when they're forced to be together is really anybody's guess. Both Rita and Ravi captured my attention, my sympathy, and my heart for different reasons. Rita's initial facade hides something completely different than what she presents to anyone who might be thinking of investing in her. She's extremely intelligent but knows that there are games to be played, and she commits to playing, even if only for a short spell. She is someone that we actually know all too well, and sometimes she represents that part of us that tries to do things on our own terms, even if it's abundantly clear that things aren't really going the way we plan. Both are products of and subjected to traditional Indian values, which, like most other cultures, revere marriage. This often results in attempts at arranged marriages for their children. As someone outside of this culture, I can see the pros and cons of an arranged marriage. Whether we want to accept it or not, no one really knows us like our parents know us. They know our strengths and weaknesses. They do have some insight into our character and who would likely compliment us. Really, though, that is only true if the parents have it at least somewhat together themselves. This leads to the cons or the dark side of an arranged marriage. Who wants to enter into a loveless union, especially after being exposed to American romantic ideals? It's certainly possible to learn to love someone, but in that off chance that the match is poor or ill-fated, it could spell nothing but personal disaster in the form of stress and longing. I appreciate 7 Days for its realism and honesty about the awkwardness of both online dating and blind dating. Both are often fraught with unrealistic expectations, lies, or what we often refer to as embellishments regarding our looks, accomplishments, and personal tastes. Having experienced an online dating disaster or two myself, I would say that the idea of having my parents pick someone for me would have been no worse, and in fact would probably have been better for me on a practical level. This movie provides an intimate look into two people's experience in their own unfamiliar territory, but it also adds a structured and honest look at our own dating trials and tribulations. You can catch 7 Days with the Hulu subscription. I would love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment and keep the conversation going about this underrated and wonderful movie. If you thought this review was helpful, check out my top 10 old school movies. If you want to just veg out in front of your laptop screen or TV, or if you need to finish up a batch of baby booties. See you all soon.